Hello again, my lovelies. Pirate Scum Gaming here. And today I would like to talk to you about my take on a Reroute Reserves to Weapons build. This Bridge Officer ability has been recently updated along with several other Bridge Officer abilities in the Pilot Specialization. This is now a really good weapon firing mode. So let's go ahead and jump right into the build. Okay, first up I have the Terran Task Force Phaser Dual Heavy Cannons. You've heard me talk about these before. Quick and dirty about these. Damage dealt increases as target's hull decreases up to 200% damage at 25% hull. These deal a significant amount of damage, and that's why I have them on the build. Next is the Phaser Wide Angle Dual Heavy Beam Bank from your Discovery reputation. Now the reason we're using these is the longer they fire, the more damage they do. And these also do quite a bit of damage on their own. It's also part of the Lorca's Ambition set. And we'll talk about that when we get down to the Lorcator. Next up are a couple of Pulse Phaser Dual Beam Banks. The reason I chose these is number one, I like the proc. I like their proc. Plus 10% all damage resistance rating to you. And it strips it from the enemy. Also, when these fire, they kind of look like cannons. So when these go off under Reroute Reserves weapons, these look like just utter machine guns going off. And it's really cool, and they do a lot of damage. Next, Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo. You've heard me discuss this before as well. This is an all-around great torpedo for no matter whatever you're doing. This also plays very well with chemosite-laced weaponry. That is why I'm using it. The Dark Matter Dissolution is a very powerful dot on the target. Space Core has not changed at all. Still using the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector from your colony. Using this for the plus 15% crit severity boost and plus 4% crit chance boost. Prevailing Innervated Impulse Engines from the competitive rep. On use of tactical firing modes, it provides a substantial boost to flight turn rate and speed. Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core. This is from your Fleet Spire holding, plus 66% power transfer rate, and minus 10% weapon power cost. Tilly's Review Pending Modified Shield from the Discovery reputation for the increased damage to shields. I am using both the turret and the Omni from the Trilithium set from Beyond the Nexus, and we'll discuss that when we get down to the console. Basically, each of these do not stack, however, each of these have a chance to add 2.5% or 10% firing cycle haste, rather. Pardon me. And last but not least, the Omnidirectional Pulse Phaser Beam Array. Same reason I am using the Dual Beam Banks. For devices, I'm using the Red Matter Capacitor, available to you in the Phoenix store. Using this to buff my engine power, and that will come into play when I discuss how Reroute Reserves to weapons work. Reactive Armor Catalyst, it's all around good heal, good old crap button when you need it. Energy Amplifier for the bonus energy weapon damage. And Deuterium Surplus, also known as Evasive in a Can, or as I like to call it, Go-Go Juice. This helps me get around the map. And the Universal Console slot, of course, I'm using Lorca's Custom Fire Controls, also known as the Lorcator. So let's go ahead and take a look at Lorca's Ambition. Okay, Lorca's Ambition 3 set includes War Discretion, which is a very moderate crit severity buff up to 25%. And then you get, but that's just the beginning, which turns your Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo into kind of an Omni turret. Let me explain. When you have the 3 set equipped, when there are enemies that are at 50% health or lower, a single Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo will shoot out at it to attack it. This particular torpedo is not affected by any fire modes. It just seeks out whatever targets at 50% health or lower to attack it. And also a little behind the scenes with this one. In case you didn't already know, because I've talked about this before. If you're doing Kinmer Vortex, and you're at the stage where you're attacking Denatro, if Denatro cloaks, this particular torpedo will seek her out and follow her. That way you kind of get a good idea of where she's going to decloak. It's a nice little thing that it does. And now you know. And knowing's half the battle, and the other half is red and blue lasers, and I have a chart to prove it. Moving on. Engineering consoles. Reinforced armaments. This is the console from Beyond the Nexus, and it's part of the trilithium laced weaponry set. So let's go and take a look at that. Now, the reason I'm using this particular console, I mean, the hull capacity and hull restoration is nice, the plus 70% power transfer rate is nice. However, that's not what I'm using it for. I'm using it for the set bonus. For the speed tweaks. 5% firing cycle haste for energy weapons, and plus 15 flight speed. That's nice. And for this particular build, I am trying to stack on as much haste as I can to get these weapons firing as fast as they can. Next, I'm using the Bioneural Fusion Circuits. This is one of the oldest consoles in the Lobby store. It provides a moderate boost to crit severity, as well as Starship control expertise and hull capacity. Next is Domino. This provides 25% firing cycle haste, 25% bonus all damage, 25% recharge speed for bridge officer abilities, and 100% recharge speed for torpedo weapons. This is available to you from the Bajoran Denorius Interceptor, available to you in the Phoenix store for an epic prize token. So if you're sitting on an epic prize token, my tongue stops working. Pull the string start again. If you're sitting on an epic prize token and you don't have Domino, go grab the Bajoran Interceptor just for this console alone. It's well worth it. Next is the M6 computer from the T3 Temporal Escort. I'm sorry. This provides 15% bonus all damage, 25% cooldown reduction for tactical bridge officer abilities, and 20% firing cycle haste for all weapons for 15 seconds, plus some accuracy and defense. Next, I am using the Immolating Phaser Lance, because of course I am. Its passives are pretty good, however, it's the active that we're using it for. It's that big ol' Immolating Phaser Lance of Death and Doom. This thing hits like a runaway freight train. And this also helps keep Universal Designs Starship trade up pretty much the entire run. So that's why we're using it. And this one we have the Temporal Trajectory Shifter. This comes from the Narendra or the Viral Support Cruiser. The passives are alright, but it's the active that we're using it for. Weapon firing speed hastened by 50%. Again, like I said, I am trying to squeeze as much weapon haste as I can out of this thing to get my weapons firing as fast as possible. And believe me, you're going to see in the run, when these things, everything synergizes, oh brother, it's just murder and death coming out of the front of this thing. Tactical consoles, I am using 4 of the vulnerability locators and 1 exploiter. These are available at the Fleet Spire. Skill tree has not changed, still using the same skill tree I've been using. For specializations, I'm using Intel Officer for the flanking bonus and Temporal Operative for Entropic Rider and the cooldown bonuses. Okay, traits. First up, a good day to die. This turns your good go down fighting into a reusable buff. If you're a tactical captain and you're not using this, you are doing it wrong, and you need to go get this. It is available in the Infinity Box and on the exchange. It is not all that expensive. Next, Intelligent Agent Attaché. On Weapon Critical Strike, which you will be critting, restore 2% of Captain Ability Recharge. Self-Modulating Fire. 50% Shield Pen. And I wish people would stop getting epic prize tokens while I'm recording my video. Superior Beam Training. Not much to talk about here. Everyone gets a flat 5% out of the box. And if you go to K13, you can pick up the superior version of this. Terran Targeting Systems. Crit severity, not much to talk about there. Unconventional systems, free DPS. On using a control bridge officer ability, of which I'm using several, ability gives minus 7% recharge onto universal consoles. Fleet coordinator, 2% bonus all damage per team member. Adaptive offense, crit chance becomes crit severity. Fragment of AI tech. Control expertise plus energy weapon damage from control expertise. So as I buff my control expertise, I get energy weapon damage. And last but not least, we have innocuous minus threat because I don't want the enemy shooting at me. And in return, it gives me plus 5% crit severity. Alright, let's take a look at some Starship traits, shall we? First up, overpowered and overgun. This is the trait from the legendary Defiant. Minus 15% weapon power cost. And 12.5% firing cycle haste for weapons for 10 seconds. Next up, emergency weapon cycle. This is from the Arbiter, Kurak, and Morrigu. Minus 50% weapon power cost for 30 seconds and 20% firing cycle haste. Calm Before the Storm. This comes from the Cardassian Intel Flight Deck Cruiser. Gain one calm stack every 2 seconds. Each stack of calm gives plus 5 all damage resistance rating at 10 stacks. Gains storm for 20 seconds. Removes all stacks of calm and gives you plus 33% firing cycle haste. Heart of Soul. This comes from the temporal warship. Either the KDF, Federation, Jem'Hadar, or Romulan. Attack Pattern Beta or any temporal operative bridge officer ability gives 10% firing cycle haste. And since I'm using Attack Pattern Beta, this applies. Pilfered Power. Now this is something that was brought to my attention by my good friend Tankia. He was also messing around with a Reroute Reserves to Weapons build, and he stumbled upon this Starship trait. Now, I didn't know, I kind of forgot this Starship trait existed, to be honest with you. But I'm glad he told me. When you use certain control powers, minus 10.5 enemy weapons and auxiliary power levels for 10 seconds, plus 10.5 to your own weapon auxiliary power levels for 10 seconds, and 20% firing cycle haste for energy weapons for 10 seconds. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what abilities this triggers. Triggers off jam sensors, tractor beam repulsors, scramble sensors, guided well, and photonic shockwave. I am using jam sensors, tractor beam, and scramble sensors. So I got 3 opportunities to trigger this trait. So thank you, Tank. Yeah, I'm glad you told me about this. Let's move on to Space Rep. We have magnified firepower from the Gamma reputation. Advanced targeting systems from the Dyson reputation. Controlled countermeasures from your temporal rep. Tyler's duality from your Discovery reputation. And precision from the new Romulus reputation. Now let's go over bridge officer abilities. First up, I have Tractor Beam and Clean Getaway. Clean Getaway is now an unconventional systems proc. So that's why I'm using it. These two are both unconventional system procs, actually. So that's why I'm using these. This one does double duty. Not only does this trigger unconventional systems, this also triggers Pilfered Power. Distributed targeting to get my energy weapon damage bouncing around. Attack Pattern Beta to trigger Heart of Soul. This is also a good damage resistance debuff, by the way. Torpedo Spread to get my Dark Matter Quantum torpedoes around. And the main event. Reroute Reserves to Weapons. Now the way this works is when you activate this, upgrades all of your energy weapons for 10 seconds or until engine power hits 0. So long as you can manage to keep your engine power up all the time, you can keep this up pretty much all the time for its entire duration. Now, I have several means to keep my engine power up, and so we'll get to talking about that here momentarily. So when you're using this, set weapon power drain to 0. 225% firing cycle haste. That is absurd. And oh man, when it goes off, it's just one steady, just big yellow beam of death coming out of the front of your ship. It's amazing. Chemostat laced weaponry, because who doesn't like radiation explosions? I love radiation explosions. They're great. Focused assault for a little bit extra damage. Emergency power to weapons to trigger emergency weapon cycle. Emit unstable warp bubble. This is an unconventional systems proc. That's why I'm using it. And emergency power to engines. Plus 50 flight speed, plus 4 flight turn rate, and plus 40 engine power setting. And jam targeting sensors and scramble sensors. These are both, not only are they unconventional system procs, they are also procs for pilfered power. Alright, let's take a look at some duty officers here. First up, emergency con hologram. Recharge evasive maneuvers when emergency power to engines is activated. Next, 2447, increased stats. Let's take a look at that. I've talked about this guy before, or this lady before, actually. On use of tactical bridge officer abilities, 15% chance to set power levels to maximum. I don't have any miracle worker, so that doesn't apply here, but this certainly does. Next, I have my tongue stops working again, pardon me. Next, I have a projectile weapons officer. Chance for stacking crit chance on use of firing projectiles. I also have one for energy weapons. And I have a crit severity 1 for torpedoes. And last but not least, we have 45 of 47. On use of science abilities, 15% chance to reduce pilot bridge officer ability cooldown by 50%, and likewise for pilot. Okay, so let's talk about that engine thing. Like I said, when you activate Reroute Reserve to weapons, so long as you are able to keep your engine power up, Reroute Reserve weapons will do its thing. Now, in order for me to do that, I am using 2447. That procs quite often. That has a chance to set power levels to maximum, so that takes care of engines. When that happens to go off, I will hit red matter capacitor. This will buff my power levels and also help my engine power stay up. And when this wears off, pardon me. When that goes off, then I hit emergency power to engines. That too boosts my engine power levels. So I have three ways to keep my engine power levels maximized here. So pretty much the entire run, I'm always as one of these comes off cooldown, I will use it just to keep Reroute Reserves to weapons doing its thing. Yeah, there goes a little bit of thought into this. So, and you know what? It paid off, as you're about to see in the upcoming patrol. So let's go ahead and take a quick beauty shot of the ship. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the Defiant class, but you know what? I'm beginning to like this particular ship. It's fast, it's zippy, and it hits hard. And I am using the new Vanity Shield on because it looks cool. Alright, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into that patrol. Afterward, we will have... Oh dear, someone left my fleet. Oh well. Afterward, we will have a discussion about final thoughts on the ship. So, until then, I will catch you on the flip side. we're back from the patrol. As you guys saw, Reroute reserves 2 weapons is just absolutely insane for what it does. It's just absolute carnage. I mean, the amount of haste that these energy weapons have now with that is just absolutely, it's incredible. As you saw, it's just one big stream of murder, death, kill coming out of the front of this ship. And I like it. This is an energy weapon, a firing mode I can come to like. I'm going to be using it quite a bit on this ship. And do you have to use the Defiant? No. You can use whatever pilot ship you want, so long as it has a commander pilot seat. So you can use the maximum level of Reroute reserved weapons. And there's a ton of different pilot ships you can use. So you're not stuck with just the ship. Use whatever pilot ship you like. Final thoughts? I like this. It performed well. I'm going to use it pretty much all the time now for this particular ship. This gives me one more ship to fly. And I highly recommend this. Guys, give this a try. I seriously think you're going to like it. If you want to use all cannons, go ahead. You can really see some stuff going on. I just use the pulse phasers because I think they look really cool when they do that. So, I give this build high praise. And I think you guys ought to try it. I'd like to hear from you guys what you think about this. So please, discuss this in the comments section. And with that being said, as always, don't go by the book, think like a pirate, and I will catch you next time.
Human! Play, Damjat! Human!